everyone, this is John from the Watch Concierge YouTube channel, and today we're going to be talking about Valuchi Watches and how I guess they got started and what they're about and why I have one of their watches, and just a little review and just overall how I feel about this company. And yeah, so Valuchi Watches started on Indiegogo, so they're a crowdfunding platform and website just like Kickstarter, and Valuchi Watches raises money from backers or people who fund their project, which is to design, to come up with this watch model, and they have different designs and get inputs from the people that are interested in funding the projects. And they kind of work with the people that are interested in funding, and if they maybe get ideas from the people backing the project, then they might apply that to their product. And so with the watches, if there's a dial that maybe the customer or the backers, essentially, because they're technically not a customer, they're not buying, they're essentially donating the money, so these projects can come to life, essentially. So they raise money, and these people essentially just donate, but then they get a perk, which is usually the product itself, so at a much lower price, or maybe not much lower, but at a discounted price from when the project is successful, and then they eventually have it for retail, and it'll be maybe twice as more or so. So yeah, that's kind of just a background on crowdfunding and how these things go. So with watches, maybe someone likes a blue dial with a certain feature on it or whatever, and then maybe the Valuchi Watches or whoever is making the product will add that on because maybe they like the idea of the person backing it, and that's kind of how it goes in general. But anyways, they have a video and they kind of show and talk about what they're planning to do and what the deal is with the design and what's behind the whole model of the watch or project. So for this specific company or brand, Valuchi Watches, they're from Amsterdam, Netherlands, and they came up with this design of essentially a AP Royal Oak, but kind of with a complete calendar, even though, which is funny, listen to this, even though they claim it to be a Perpetual Calendar, or at least that's what they actually named the model, so, which is very deceiving. And this sometimes happens when you have these crowdfunding projects, and then you have these guys that they want to make fashion watches, but they want to make it seem like they've been they know what they're doing, and then they're cutting out the middleman, and they are doing direct to consumer, and all this bullshit that we hear from Movement Watches and Daniel Wellington, essentially, when they're really just working with Chinese or Hong Kong factories and manufacturers that make watches that essentially you can also find very similar watches, or on AliExpress or other platforms that you can probably find it for a lot cheaper than what they should be. So when they come out with these watches and they're in retail, and if you'll see a watch like Daniel Wellington, it's the most ridiculously priced watch for the quality of the watch that they have, and just the boring and plain and minimalistic, so minimalistic that it's just boring look that they have. And even I have a watch similar to that, but similar to a very, it looks very much like a Daniel Wellington, but at least I didn't pay the $200 or over $150 for the kind of watch that they make. So, but with this one, I like the design, I like the look of it, and it's just a great looking watch. But when it comes to the features and what they claim, or what they try to make it seem, the kind of illusion that they come out with is that this watch is a perpetual calendar. So this whole thing is about the Perpetual Calendar, and I'll go ahead and show this fake Perpetual Calendar watch here. But let's go over the box first. So I'm disappointed because, first of all, it's just a very cheap looking box and kind of cheaply made. You can tell it's not a good quality box, and that's quite unfortunate. And you also have this bow, which is weird because it's not like they're giving this to me for free, so it's not a present. I bought it pretty much, so, but whatever. Anyways, so this is what the watch looks like, and you have this kind of Velcro on here, or velvety feel to it. But it's still, you can tell it's cheaply made. It's nothing like really nice for a box, but whatever. But you can tell it's a nice looking watch, and I've had two problems so far with this watch. The first one was that they claim to be perpetual when it's truly a Miyota 6B00 complete calendar movement. So it has all the day, date, and the month, as well as the moon phase feature on it, but it doesn't adjust to leap years, and it doesn't account for February, so you have to manually set it, essentially, which is the opposite of what the Perpetual Calendar is supposed to be, which is you don't have to set the watch manually until the year 2100. So that's very disappointing and deceiving that they would even do that. And I kind of had a feeling about this since I even, at first when I was backing the watch, I was like, okay, I need to look deeper into really how much it costs to make or have a Perpetual Calendar watch. Or, I was just very skeptical about having a Perpetual Calendar watch when I usually see it in much higher end watches, and even Seikos. It's, you don't see too many Perpetual Calendar Seikos out there. So, if these guys can do it, why isn't Seiko doing more Perpetual Calendar watches? And for the price that they had, which was here on the box, 147 euros, which is about, I think, paid for, I don't know if this is the price that I actually ended up paying for it, but I think I paid about $150 or $160 or so. But they also, threw in a leather strap, I guess, for a €1, so, which is supposed to cost 50 euros, but we'll go into the strap later. Anyways, it's a nice looking watch. And then the second issue that I had with this watch was that the battery's been acting funky with me, or just the watch itself. I don't know if it's the battery, but I'm assuming it is. So it's been stopping. Right now it's going, but after a few hours it'll stop, and then unless I pull out the crown and put it back in and push it back in, it'll start again. But sometimes it'll only last for about 10 minutes or less. Sometimes it'll last for a few hours, and then it'll stop, and then I have to do the same thing again. So it's kind of frustrating. So I don't know if it has a weak battery, and I might have to get that replaced. So we'll see how long this one lasts. If tomorrow, once I'll check and see if it's still going like this, and if not, then I guess I truly really need to get the battery replaced. But it's just unfortunate that a brand new watch will have to have a battery replaced so early. I just got this last week or 2 weeks ago maybe, but yeah, and I'm happy with the design. It's kind of what I wanted. It looks nice, and rose gold with the black is really nice. I even like the hands, are I think really cool too, and I love the multi-function features here with the moon phase. I think it's really awesome. I do wish it was automatic instead, and I wish it didn't say Perpetual Calendar if it's not an actual Perpetual Calendar watch. I think it's stupid that they would call the model name Perpetual, because it translates to never ending. This is seriously what they said on the comments when I asked about when I mentioned that. And that's funny because they never even replied to my comments or my criticism that I made to them and try to get like some kind of answer. But then they answered someone else because they also mentioned what I had mentioned, and I was like, okay, they started to pick up on the issue, and behind the name and why they would call it that. And then they explained it that it was, it was a cool sounding name, and it means that it's never ending. So technically you have a calendar that never ends because it's on the fucking watch, and it's here and it's forever, and it's going to keep going as long as you have a battery that's running in a watch that functions. So yeah, no fucking duh, you have a perpetual calendar watch. But it's not a perpetual calendar watch. That's not what the feature does, because in the watch world, if you're gonna do watches, man, you gotta do some research and do what the other watch brands do. If that's, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. So don't try to fuck around and make some name and come up with a name when it pretty much deceives the people that you're trying to have fund your project, and so it really loses the value of the brand, and they don't, they're not going to get any respect out of me from that, just because it doesn't seem very genuine. But yeah, it's all stainless steel watch, and it's got mineral crystal glass, so clearly it's not, for the price of 147 euros, is not going to be sapphire crystal apparently. But you can even I've found watches that have sapphire crystal, like Pagani design, and I'll go over all these other watches later that I can find cheaper and better quality than this. But I specifically got this because of the design, because I think it's kind of unique, because you have the the round kind of part with the AP Royal Oak kind of look to it, but you also have the multi-function features here with the dates and the moon phase. So I think it's a different design. I haven't come across any AP Royal Oak homage that have kind of like this look to it. So they all look, all the homages that I found and the watches inspired by the AP Royal Oak look almost exactly like the AP Royal Oak, and this one looks a little bit different, which is why I like it. But that's probably about it. Let me go over I think it is a 40 millimeter case diameter. It is water resistant to 50 meters as well. Has a Miyota Japanese quartz movement, and the Miyota 6P00 in specific. Yeah, 40 millimeters in case diameter, and then thickness of 8.8 millimeters. But yeah, it has a good feel to it. The weight is nice, so it doesn't feel like it's that bad quality. So it's kind of great looking back here, although it does, when you put your hands over it, you can tell it's not really engraved as I thought it would have been, since they kind of put some part of like Milan in Italy and Amsterdam. That's kind of what their whole thing is about, Amsterdam, Milan, so they're kind of inspired by those two places apparently. Or that's what their whole story is about. I guess they're just trying to come up with something to sell. So, but it's just disappointing that the image here is not actually engraved. It just feels like it's either like lasered in or something, but you can't really feel it because it's just really small. So I don't even know if it's just like a sticker that they added on there, and you're just kind of I don't know, but you can't really feel any engravings. But it feels like a sturdy watch. So besides, and there you can tell the watch is, or the battery, the second hand here is having issues. It's not good. So I'm gonna have to probably get this replaced because it clearly is not doing well. So, but yeah, that's Valuchi for you. Don't buy their watches, not until they fucking make this better. And pardon my word, but pardon my language, but if you're gonna act like this, you deserve some exposing and bad reviews. Let's go over this the straps here, the leather straps for €1, which they actually usually sell it for, or they plan on selling it for €50, but they hooked it up, which was nice. But it doesn't feel that good. You know, it doesn't feel like that great material. Feels okay. It doesn't feel like the worst leather band I've had, but it also doesn't feel like the best either. It doesn't feel like high quality and premium leather, Italian leather, or whatever they claim to have to use on this band. You can barely even see what they have on here. You see Valuchi, and then you see this Italian leather, handcrafted Italian leather. Okay, I'm sure. Yeah, and then you can see here the tank buckle. It doesn't even feel like metal. It feels like it doesn't feel like stainless steel. It's probably either it almost feels like plastic, but it's probably like alloy or something. It just doesn't feel like stainless steel. You can tell by the weight and just by the, I don't know, it doesn't feel that solid. But yeah, I mean, let's go over these manuals here that they have, and this comes along. So they have a little information, certificate of authenticity. Like anyone who's gonna try to copy this one, right? But okay. And then they have the whole Perpetual Calendar instructions and the history of Valuchi, the story of Valuchi. So people look back on the classical period as a time during which creativity exploded forth from every direction. Anywhere you looked, there were grand masters breaking new ground in all areas, from music to painting to sculpture to literature. This was an exciting time period and one that shaped the world's development permanently. In much the same way, we are excited to bring Valuchi watches to the market and to shape the world's development as well. What we are doing with this brand is exciting, fresh, and unique, sure to turn heads wherever our watches are worn and to set new standards within the watch industry. And let's see here. Based on the founding principles of Amsterdam and Milan, Valuchi watches are created for free thinkers with a feeling for fashion. Valuchi, so that already kind of gives up that they're just a fashion watch brand. And Valuchi stands for the people who like the finer things in life and seeks for a watch collection which is accessible for everyone, try to exclude no one. So this goes into pretty much the affordable luxury category, which I'm fine with. I've got plenty of affordable watches, or affordable luxury watches and fashion watches, so that's, I'm not a watch snob whatsoever. I don't own any high-end watches except for my vintage JLC, but that's a different story. But yeah, I'm not too picky with my watches, really. So when it comes to looking at a bad watch, I can tell, because I deal with a lot of affordable and cheaper watches. So when there's a really bad one that I have to say bad things on it, then you've done something bad. A brand where cities meet each other and where classical history meets modern fashion. We combined old traditional styles of Amsterdam and Milan to make a watch collection which is new and fresh but classical and traditional at the same time. Each Valuchi design has been redesigned plenty of times to make it just perfect. In short, Valuchi watches are a tribute to the great vibes, the energy, and the tolerance for free thinking that is typical for both Amsterdam and Milan. So that kind of gives a little detail about, I guess, their inspiration. And the craftsmanship, probably not even a picture of their watches, but whatever. We partnered up with the finest watch manufacturers, right? Every watch will be assembled with extreme precision. Clearly not, because my battery, or the watch, keeps stopping for some reason, and the hands, it's just not working. So every watch will be assembled with extreme precision. Craftsmanship speaks to the time, effort, and attention to the detail that the watchmaker put into creating our timepieces. Since the beginning, we've been working together with all types of artists, from watchmakers to watch designers to painting artists. We develop multiple watch prototypes to perfect our end product. And then it goes into the details of Perpetual Calendar and the history of Perpetual Calendar, which is hilarious because they go into history and they go to make it seem like they have a Perpetual Calendar watch when really they just named the model a Perpetual Calendar, but it's not a Perpetual Calendar. It doesn't have a Perpetual Calendar feature, so who in the world does that? And then you got the moon phase and all these different things, and you're like, wow, this really is a Perpetual Calendar watch. But you know, most people won't know that. If you're not in the watch industry and you're not into watches, you're not gonna know the difference unless you really look it up and you know your thing. So, and if you realize that the Miyota 6P00 isn't a Perpetual Calendar watch, then you can really call them out and be like, hey, that's not true. You're deceiving us. But yeah, I just want everyone else to know that if you're looking into this brand and to buy a watch from this brand, and they raised a lot of money on their Indiegogo crowdfunding, so they raised about like 160,000 or something. And so if they end up becoming a bigger brand and really putting out more models out there, I just want you to know that unless they improve and stop deceiving people with their names, claiming they're something when they're not, don't buy their watches. So unless they improve, don't buy their stuff. But if you like the look of it, whatever. And if you like this video, just remember to subscribe and like, share, comment, and check out the other videos that I have on my channel. And if you're interested in buying good quality watches for a reasonable price based on what the quality is, I have a variety of different watches available on my website and from different price ranges, so you can take a look and find something that you might like, and if not, then just let me know and I'll try to help you find something that you like. But that website is the www.thewatchconcierge.net, and I'll put the link in the description along with my Instagram and Facebook. And have a good rest of your day, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. Take care.